Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 19. Excited to be here for our 19th straight day of just coming to you and being able to talk about stewardship in so many different areas. Are you enjoying it so far? I would love to hear if you're enjoying it so far in regards to just what are you learning, what's coming up for you. I've had a lot of people on the back end actually talk about wow, I'm really enjoying those lives. I'm really enjoying, the stewardship talk because it's not really a word that's talked about. It's not something people really dig in on and really understand, like the importance of stewarding things. So we have talked about stewarding so many different things. If you're watching live on Facebook or watching the replay on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, there is a playlist on YouTube, and I'm happy to drop that link below where you guys can watch the playlist to watch back on the former days up until this point. And I'm going to keep it up there because I know that somebody is meant to listen and learn and dive into these questions and conversations. And I talked about this on day 18 a little bit. This isn't for me to be known. These lives aren't for Molly to be known. These lives are for people to know the truth, divine revelation, and you never know from somebody's experience that could be the aha moment that you need to really press into where your next step is, where growth should be, questions to really reflect. I'm definitely big on reflection, big, big, big. I used to not be because I'm like, I don't have time. I mean, who has the time to sit there and journal and reflect and think on these things? But at the same time, if we don't, then how do we know how far we've come? How do we know where we're really at to be able to test it? Right? Like, how do we actually know? I remember I used to tell myself that I was not a journaler. I didn't have time to journal. So I started journaling on my phone. And then I eventually went to pen and paper. And now I'm obsessed because when I get to brain dump on something, then I get to open up space for more things. But then really be able to get the clarity on the thing that I just wrote out. A lot of the times we sit there and we stew on things because it's just swirling around in our minds and we don't actually come to a conclusion. So it's like a lot of these open loops. And what are we doing with those? We have to close the loop. We have to be able to find a solution. And maybe it's not coming as fast as you want, but being able to have that time to take that reflection and also bring it before the Lord, or even bring it before trusted sources, trusted mentors, trusted friends, family members, your inner circle, if you will. You don't want to like entrust like everything with everyone, but you do want to be able to be open with that. So reflection is huge. So if there's something that you've reflected on, a breakthrough, an aha, or anything that you had, please share that. Share it in the comments, whether you're sharing it live. If you're going to share it replay, definitely put hashtag replay next to it. Because these replays are going to be up for a very long time. So what's cool about the internet is that 5 years from now, somebody could find this playlist and boom, it was the thing they needed to catapult them into the next season of their life. So let's talk about the topic for today, stewarding your sight. That might be something where you're like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm seeing, I'm looking, but I can't wait to dive into this because I got some divine revelation on it of really stewarding your sight. And it's not just what you see in the physical. Actually, it's more so what you don't see in the physical. And discernment is going to be a big part of that. So I'm going to save the discernment part for the end because honestly, I think that's the most important part. And so I'm going to keep you waiting. But up until then, we're going to lead up until that point because let's talk about the physical eyesight, right? What we choose to focus on, what we choose to actually see. We could see somebody who is, what's a good example? Like somebody who just is, they look like they don't care about life, right? They look like they don't care about life. And I'm going to use this as an example. Not that this is always the example, but when I see somebody dressed in very dark makeup, black hair, black clothing, baggy chains, all the thing, the first thing most of the time when I see that, I'm just like, okay, well, clearly that they're dark. There's darkness there. They don't care about life. They don't want to be a productive member of society. Let's be honest. Like that's probably the first judgment most people have. But as I dug into physically seeing, not only in the physical, but let's go deeper and even see just like in the supernatural. When I see somebody who's typically dressed like that, that is a form of expression. It's completely up to them. But what do I also see? That typically people that dress like that, typically people that express themselves like that. Let's just talk about that as self-expression, not even how they dress, but just the expression in general. Typically, there's sadness, there's darkness, there's brokenness. We can see something in the physical, like somebody's homeless, for example, right? Like, oh gosh, I wonder what they did to get there. There could have been a lot of unfortunate circumstances, right? We give money to the homeless. What do we automatically think? Oh, they're going to go buy drugs with it. That's not every homeless person. Like we see things in the physical, but we have to be able to see deeper than that of, okay, here's a question that I always ask, Lord, show me how you see them. And when I started praying that and asking that, I started seeing so many more broken people. And what you're seeing in the physical with your eyesight is the manifestation, is the result of all these accumulations of feelings and brokenness or whatnot, or the opposite, right? Or the opposite. So a lot of us just judge by what we see. We take somebody who's really wealthy, for example, and we're like, gosh, must be nice. You can have whatever you want. Must be nice. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes people even take it as far as those people are, evil. They're evil, or they're not generous, or they're not this, that, and the other thing, because we put our own expectations on what we think they should be doing rather than let's see beyond that. Man, they must have worked hard. I wonder what they did. I wonder what they overcame. Like, I wonder. So our eyes, our physical eyes can actually deceive us on so many different levels because we're just seeing with our eyes. We're not seeing with our heart. We're not seeing with our spirit. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Like, I really hope that you are, because when we can see beyond just the physical, we can actually see a lot more, which will give us insight, compassion, empathy for people. But it definitely does take more work. It for sure takes more work. If there is a child acting out, for example, in the store, and we're like, gosh, somebody, like, lady, get your kid. Like, this kid is out of control. We're thinking like, oh, that, this kid is just unruly. This is not a great mom. Like, a lot of those thoughts come up. Let's be honest. But what if that kid is deeply troubled? What if there's something physically wrong? What if he's being tormented spiritually? What if he's acting out because he's not being heard? He's not being loved. He's not being seen. What if that mom's not doing anything about it because she's at her wit's end? She's exhausted. She's tired. She doesn't know what to do. Like, let's see beyond what's just happening in the physical and have some grace for people and love for people and extend that. So we have to see, and we get to see beyond what's actually happening in the physical. It's having an awareness of there are so many other things going on that we don't know about, but what we're physically seeing is a manifestation of all of these things coming together, right? All of these things coming together. Oh, here's a great example. Oh, this is going to be good. So there's a guy at the gym. We talk every morning after the gym, and we have some good, deep conversations. I literally tell people this guy is literally like my husband's doppelganger, but 30 years older. It's maybe not quite that old, but I mean, he's older. And so there's a lot of wisdom there. We have great conversations. He was telling me he just started a new job and these guys wanted to take him out. Hey, let's go somewhere after dinner. And he's like, where are we going? He's like, you'll see. And they ended up at a strip club. They ended up at a strip club. Now, this guy doesn't normally go to strip clubs. He actually has told me many stories that he'll go to bars, but he doesn't drink. He'll order a Gatorade, which always sparks conversations. And usually he's like a Venus flytrap in a bar. It's like somebody comes and sit next to him, like, why are you drinking Gatorade? And then he ends up having a deep conversation with them. I'm like, dude, you are hilarious. So he tells me this story recently that they go to a strip club and they walk in and, judge all you want, think all you want when it comes to a strip club, but hear me out. He sits down. This guy brings like a plate full of like thousands of ones to just give to these strippers. And my friend sits down and he basically people are coming up to him like, hey, like rubbing on him, trying to dance on him. And he ends up sparking conversation with one. And then she just couldn't get enough and kept talking and why are you here? Tell me more about you. What do you want to do? And then another one was like, what are you guys talking about? And then another one and another one. And I said, Javi, you better watch out because the owner of this establishment is going to be like, get out of my strip club because you are not being, business is not going well. You're going to end up taking all my strippers from me. Long story short, I'm like, dude, I could see that happening because you were sitting there asking questions, going deeper with these people, You're not just seeing bodies on a pole. You are seeing spirits. You are seeing human beings that are broken that say, you know what, I need it for the money, or a lot of other reasons why women get on the pole. And a lot of it starts with money, but there's so much more other than that. So much more. And so when he was telling me that, I was laughing because I was like, wow, amazing, absolutely amazing. And these women, I could tell by the way he was talking, I'm like, they're probably falling for you because you're seeing them who they actually are, taking an interest, and not just seeing that they are bodies on a pole. He's seeing deeper. You could look at a stripper being like, wow, disgusting. Wow, can't believe they do this. They're degrading their body. But you know what a lot of people get into stripping for? For the money. But then also, there was probably some very harmful things that happened in their past. Probably a lot have daddy issues. A lot are like, you know what? Like, I don't really see myself as worthy. So I'm going to be naked on this pole and earn money. And at least this money will be able to get me somewhere. Seriously. Seriously. It's crazy. When I used to live in Oregon, I didn't know this at the time, but I figured it out after the fact. In Portland, Oregon, it has the most strip clubs per capita. Like so many strip clubs. So many. And it just breaks my heart because it's like people are just trying to find that easy way out. You can make money anywhere. You know, it's really sad. I actually saw this go across my Instagram recently that OnlyFans models, I guess that's what you call them, models, right? Are making more than professional sports players, like some even more than LeBron James. Like, what? It is such an epidemic. It really is. Because not only the women that are going there and degrading themselves, my heart breaks for them. The men that are coming in and even the women that are coming in to pay to be able to gratify certain things. Like, come on, you guys. Many could judge who walks into a strip club. Many can judge who is on the stage at a strip club. But let's see deeper. People are so broken that they're putting just all that on display. But yet at a strip club, people are fanning money at them. Fanning money at them. Like, here you go. Good job. What? I want to pay your brokenness. Come on. I hope somebody hears what I'm saying. Like, extreme example, but not really, because there's strip clubs everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. So it's being aware. A couple other things when it comes to like stewarding your site is the body language, reading that of other people. I read body language before I even hear words. Like, somebody could give me the best story ever, but if they're like this, like, you know, I was really set free today because, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And they're really telling a story, but they're not looking at me. They're slumped over. I'm not going to hear a word other than, are you okay? Like, your body language, you have a great story you want to tell me, but your body language is saying something different. Your body language is saying something different. Or somebody could be telling me a story that really doesn't matter at all, but they're so excited. They're so into it. They're passionate. It could be talking about like this sheep in the middle of the city was crossing the street. And oh my gosh, it just blew my mind because why is that sheep there? And like, this is just incredible. Now, who actually cares? But because they were so into it, I'm into it. And now I'm curious, like, why did that matter to you? Right? I hope you're hearing what I'm saying. Body language matters. We teach a lot of this inside of our Kingdom Speaker Academy because body language is a way bigger. I know, Damien, sheep in the middle. Exactly. It's a random example. But at the same time, I was trying to think of something random that wouldn't matter, but the excitement behind it mattered. So anyways, teaching people that body language is arguably, I would say probably about 80% of the presentation. How you show up, how you look, what your face is saying. The inflection of your voice, the pauses, the speed, the energy behind it, it matters. And so I listen to that more than I listen to words. Now, I am picking up words and most people are caught on the words, but you have to pay attention to how they're being. You have to pay attention to how they're being and how they're showing up. And a lot of people don't have that confidence. And confidence comes by doing over and over and over again. The only way you're going to get good at something and be confident in it, actually, you don't even have to be good in it, but you could be confident in it, is by doing it over and over. Over and over. So body language is huge. Tonality is huge. That is something I've had to work on a lot in relationships, my marriage. It's like, I hope you can hear my heart because my tone may not be reflecting it because I don't have the sweetest, softest voice. It's very like direct and here you go. Like I'm a very black and white. I'm one of those where I'm on my phone, I'm texting somebody And I text and I just get straight to the point. Then I have to back up. I have to say, hey, how you doing? I hope that you're doing well. And then ask the question. Like sometimes I just get straight to the point, give me what I need. And I'm like, no, no, no. You got to make deposits before you have withdrawals. Like I'm just a very black and white, straight to the point. And sometimes when I really need to get to the point, it can be sharp. And if it needs to be sharp, okay. But most of the time it doesn't. That's something I've had to work on big time. Because I'm so aware of it, because I've worked on it, and I've been a speaker coach and a international speaker, professional communicator, you name it, for a very long time. For a very long time. And that's something I am still actively working on big time. So because I'm actively working on it, I see it in other people a lot of what their body language is saying. Or even, you ever find these people, maybe you're one, they laugh after everything. They're like, it's like a nervous laugh. It's like a tick. It's like, okay, well, let me just break the ice because I feel awkward. So you're going to make me feel awkward and you're going to laugh. Why are you laughing? Like, what is that? Like, what is that? And over the years, I've been able to ask a lot of people, like, why do you do that? Why do you say it like that? Why do you talk down on yourself like that? Like, I can see things through their words and how they're presenting it, even though that's not what they're saying, but I see so much deeper because I have asked for it and I've really worked on that. Mary says, I know what it's like to be so burnt out and having toddlers. I know what it's like to be so burnt out and toddlers are not being heard. God help me when I can't stand up. Huge. Huge. I love it when you guys are commenting on this live. Like, please comment because people on the replay get a benefit across the board. So physically, with our sight, we get to steward it, what we're looking at. Being aware and reading body language of what's happening, even if it's not being said, like pray on that. Like, I want to see beyond what's actually being said. Let me read between the lines, right? Ever heard that phrase? Let me read between the lines. Like, let me see what's actually being said that's not said. Expressions, physical expressions, how people are expressing themselves, whether that's what they wear, how they talk about themselves. A lot of people put down themselves. They put down themselves so quickly before anybody else can do it to beat them to the punch. I feel like everybody has done that to some degree. Everybody's done that to some degree. I had somebody ask me the other day at the gym because at the beginning of the year, I was, saying, hey, what are your New Year's resolutions? And one of the ones that I had is I'm going to fast every day. Fast every week, once a week. And that is something I've never done before. It wasn't necessarily for the physical benefits, even though that's a plus. It was more for like, I'm going to fast and pray and give that up to the Lord to really be fasting for certain things in my life. And I told him that it was more for a spiritual fast than was physical. Well, now we're 9 months into the year, almost 10. And he asked me the other day, he was like, hey, are you still fasting? And I said, yeah. But, there have been a week or two or sometimes where I haven't been able to, I've had to move it around. Like he asked me and the answer could have just been yes, even though there were some things in between. I didn't have to give him that explanation, but I did. He wasn't asking for that. Even though I told him that, he didn't really hear it. He was like, okay, wow. Like, way to be dedicated to that. That's amazing. But I was like, oh, but here's where I fell short in the middle of that. Like, I still catch myself doing that. Like, come on, people are going to fall short. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, like, just be like, thank you. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for asking, period. So we get to like stop beating ourselves up for the places we fall short or try to beat people to the punch in fear of what could be coming, right? And lastly here, I want to talk about discernment. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is going to be probably one of my favorite parts about this one. Discernment is so huge. And I want to read to you the definition of discernment. There's two definitions. Number one, the ability to judge well, which is probably not the favorable explanation. Number two, in a Christian context, perception in the absence of judgment with a view to obtain spiritual guidance and understanding. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me see if there's any other definitions that we can write out here. Another one actually that I really like here that just came up, a wise way of judging between things or a particularly perceptive way of seeing things. So my definition of discernment is, okay, Lord, what do you see? What do you say? I've talked about this on other lives before. There is a vast difference between your emotions, your feelings, and discernment. How you're choosing to react or respond. So emotions, it's how you feel in that particular moment. You just act on it. Feelings, you're taking from a past experience, you're bringing it into the present, and that's what you're basing your response off of. And then discernment is, okay, Lord, what do you say? How should I respond to this? That takes a second. You have to pause, think, and then wait to respond, and really respond out of a place of like wisdom and knowledge, not just out of the like, this is how I feel in the moment. Now, we do all three. Most of us actually do the first two. Discernment is something you definitely have to grow in. So when you grow in that discernment and you really start acting and responding in ways that you feel the Lord is leading you, you eventually kind of get a groove as to like, okay, like, you know what that feels like, you know what that sounds like, you know what the sense is. So really being able to discern with your sight, seeing beyond what's physical, going into the spiritual, seeing beyond what they're saying and really seeing how they're being, how they're showing up. It's huge. So many people don't have discernment. They're just going based off their emotions and their feelings because that's easy grab. That's like low hanging fruit. Discernment is higher hanging fruit that you really have to take time to develop. It takes time to develop discernment. And I wish more people had it. Believers, not believers, like people will call it their intuition. They'll call it a feeling. They'll call it the universe saying whatever. By the way, the universe is made by our creator, the one and only, like the Almighty. So whenever somebody says universe, and I'm like, you guys, like, God created that. Like, why settle talking to the universe when you can talk to the creator? Like, come on. So we get to really discern with our eyes what we're physically seeing and then beyond what we're physically seeing. And we get to steward that. It goes much deeper than what we're just seeing with our physical eyes, because our physical eyes will deceive us. Again, the example of the homeless person, the example of the person dressed in all black, goth-like, the stripper, through wildly different examples. Wildly different examples. Here's another example. Being able to see somebody where on the outside, it looks like their marriage is good. They live in a nice house. They drive a nice car. That's amazing. But let's have a conversation. Chances are there are things in there that my discernment is going to pick up on. Not all the time, but a lot of the time of, you know what? It's not all unicorns and rainbows. People want to see that because they don't want to go in the deep and have to go actually deal with the things that need to be dealt with. And so discerning, like, how can you be there for somebody? How can you really stand in that space for them? And just ask, like, how are you really doing? So when you discern with your sight, you can see beyond the physical and take the time to ask that question, how are you really doing? For the people who have it all together, for the people that don't, people crave to be seen, heard, and appreciated. It's free to give, costs you some time, but it means everything to people. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for those jumping on live. Damien says, love your personality. Love your personality. So much worldly too. I have a funny story that is everything you are. So you don't have to be pretty much this voice for reason. Here, let me go through this. Can't judge a book by its cover. Yes, definitely cannot judge a book by its cover. Long story short, love that. He said Napoleon Hill. Let's bring this one up, actually. Napoleon Hill said 95% of the work is living in reaction. So if that's the case, Molly, who are we following, or what is distracting us because of a scientific belief and background? That's why I see through the whole control mass. Oh yeah, there's a lot of control going on out there. 100%. So much control going on out there. Don't judge a book by its cover. Really see deeper. Don't just see what's on the surface level. Don't just see what people want you to see. For being a former news anchor and reporter, there's a lot that they'll feed you. And a lot of people just take that and be like, well, that's gospel. That's the word. No, 100% of the time, 100% of the time, actually, I'll give them 99.9%. The government and the mass media want you to follow their narrative. They want you to get in line with their narrative, to follow what they have for you. They don't want you to think for yourself. They do not. Thank you, Damien. That was really sweet. He said, Molly, God would be very proud of you. So much value. My family in heaven is definitely smiling at you. Ah, you're so sweet. I appreciate that. But yes, we get to see deeper. We get to go beyond. We get to steward the sight that we've been given. So share in the comments, whether you're watching the replay, watching live, what it is that you're picking up. I would love to hear because stewardship is important, especially with the site in the physical and beyond the physical. So I can't wait to hear what's coming up for you. All right, everyone. See you on day 20. Bye, everybody.